We're officially in week 4 of this NFL season. Let's see if the trend continues of unexpected results and weird MVP contenders and all that. So we'll get right into it with our matchups of the week. The first one, the biggest one, the Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens.
So the Ravens coming off a win over the Cowboys, beating them in Dallas. So I'm gonna start off with the Ravens saying that they're versing a tough team. Obviously the Bills are rolling, but how much is it they finally got that win that's gonna hype them up for this game? I feel like that'll be a factor. But overall, they're gonna have to play a much better 4 quarters because their first half was good, their second half wasn't great to beat the Buffalo Bills right now.
Yeah, no, so that's the thing, right? Buffalo, quote unquote scheduled loss. I'm not saying trap game because trap game means that they're it's like the Ravens situation there. Yes, the Ravens needed to see a win and they needed to see a win fall through. But again, they almost did the same thing they did against the Raiders, this time against a better team. Who would you say is better at the moment? Better overall? Obviously, at the moment, the Bills are the better team compared to the Cowboys. But if you were to say beginning of the year on paper, who was your better team?
I would have had the Ravens. Obviously.
No. I mean Bills and Cowboys.
Bills and Cowboys.
Yeah.
I'd probably go with the Bills.
Okay, so it's fair because so then I was doing the Ravens comp between the two teams, right? They handled business in the first half, like you said. Then they took their foot off the gas a little bit, and but listen, Brandon Aubrey's probably the best kicker in the game on all aspects now. Because of the onside kick recovery. Now, how much of that was on Zay Flowers not recovering it as well, but. I think this is a good momentum boost, and the Ravens will come out strong in this game. The Bills, I'm not saying they're going to come out weaker or anything like that. I think the Ravens, I think they're at home as well, should be dictating this game as well, how they started off the Cowboys game. And to your point, they need to close out the game, which means you cannot let Josh Allen go firing for start to finish, because he will find his ways, whether by running or by finding his receivers, tight ends, and whoever else.
Yeah, so overall, they just got to figure out how to play a 4-quarter game, because it's been twice now where against the Raiders and now against the Cowboys where one they lost and one they almost blew a massive lead. So as long as the Ravens, I just think, fix up the pass defense a little bit and play all 4 quarters, they'll have a chance in this game. And if you're flipping over to the Bills side, the best thing that the Bills are doing right now, and that's probably the biggest advantage they have over the Ravens right now, is that the Buffalo Bills are playing football in a way that they're not harming themselves and producing at a high level, right? And I'm saying, I said this many times over the weeks, Josh Allen is a guy who makes plays at high levels but also tends to hurt himself and his team. None of that has happened so far this year.
Well, and that's week 1, a little bit of week 1.
Well, he didn't really hurt himself.
No, yeah, you remember there was a point where he was looking like he got hurt. That was one of our overreactions in Josh.
No, I'm talking about hurt, making bad plays.
Oh, no, okay, I thought you meant physically get hurt.
Oh, no, making bad plays.
Okay, yeah. No, you're right on that.
Yeah. So he hasn't really done that this year, and that's probably the biggest key to the Buffalo Bills' victory so far, because they were getting that high level of play without any harm to them with the interceptions, turnovers, and an added ability is that yes, you don't have a number 1 target on this team, but these last 3 weeks, you found a way to get the best out of Shakir, Coleman, and this past game, Kincaid, and James Cook, where the Josh Allen, doing his thing as well. So with all those guys getting going and Joe Brady doing an incredible job, put some pressure off of Josh Allen, which is probably one of the biggest concerns coming into the year, because they don't have a guy who could really take the pressure off, but they do. It was Joe Brady the whole entire time.
Defensively, can they contain Lamar Jackson, right? And Derrick Henry. I want to see the Ravens use Derrick Henry a little bit more as well, run it down their throats. They don't have Matt Milano still. Again, injuries throughout. We need to see a better game quarterbacking-wise from Lamar Jackson a little bit. And some Mark Andrews cannot have 0 fantasy points. Let's just put it that way. Or whatever. Yeah, you should know that. But
yeah, he was terrible. He hasn't been involved in the passing game so much. And I think a lot of it has to do with Lamar being too much of a rusher right now.
Yeah, so that's what they're going to figure out. Still give Derrick Henry the ball. Clearly, Dallas couldn't deal with him much when he comes to
he didn't. He had 100 plus and 2 touchdowns.
Exactly, right? So it's going to be the same game plan here, but can Lamar find his tight end? Because his best friend was Mark Andrews in terms of, maybe even off the field, but I'm saying on the field, it was Mark Andrews. But let's just get our predictions in very quickly here. I don't know. Obviously, this is, I think the Ravens were favored because I guess they were home. I went with the Ravens. Obviously, in my opinion, the Bills should be the favorites for obvious reasons. I went with the Ravens. I feel like last week their trend is kind of there, right? Choke against the Raiders, worst team. Win, but held on against the
Barely,
Cowboys,
yeah.
who are a worse team now than the Bills. Maybe that's obviously just me just
And now
joking
then,
around with it, but I'm gonna go with the Baltimore Ravens. I feel like this is the time for them to make it 2-2 because there's a big chance the Steelers could go 4-0 this week, and they need to be within arm's reach as well to win the division.
okay, I was making my picks in the morning, and I already forgot who I picked. I'll be honest with you, but I'm pretty sure I picked the Buffalo Bills, and I was teetering across, because I had to pick between my boys, and I don't know which one to pick, right? Because obviously I'm a big Josh Allen fan, big Lamar fan, and I went with the team that's just rolling right now. In terms of like, I'm not saying they're going to necessarily dominate like how they did the last couple of weeks. They are playing a much tougher team than the Miami Tua-less, even with Tua, Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I just think that as long as they're just finding a way to get the ball, like, get all their weapons involved and just don't hurt themselves in terms of like making bad plays, I think they should be able to win this game because they're a team that actually has played all 4 quarters and has been consistent so far.
Next up, let's head over to the NFC because who would have thought we would be talking about the Minnesota Vikings being a team to watch out for before week 1? Obviously, over the weeks, you've seen our overreactions. Hit the subscribe button if you guys haven't checked out the overreaction video we dropped for week 3. We talked a lot of Minnesota Packers there as well. But it is the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. Division up for grabs here. Well, okay, Detroit's there too, but they're also 2-1.
Yes,
and we'll be talking about Detroit later on here in a second. But between these two, it's the battle of the injured quarterbacks. I guess, Sam Darnold is always going to probably start, but battle of, Jordan Love Jordan Love less Packers, where Malik Willis has stepped up in these last 2 weeks. A lot of credit goes to Matt LaFleur for getting the right game plans out there, whether it be by the run game against the Colts, whether it be making some plays against the Titans there as well. But with the Minnesota Vikings, as we mentioned last time, Brian Flores and getting that defense going, Sam Darnold not making mistakes, and Justin Jefferson. Well, Sam Darnold not making constant mistakes, and then Justin Jefferson making the plays when he needs to. Yeah. Aaron Jones, like we said at the beginning of the year, that this is a kid. This is their like safety blanket, right, where they could get going, and this is without T.J. Hawkinson in the lineup as well.
So this is probably the big NFC division matchup, right? This is the first one, and right now, I think in my opinion, the game's gonna come down to 2 matchups or 2 things. The first one is off the field. Actually, it's gonna be Brian Flores versus Matt LaFleur. I feel like that matchup is going to be vital. And the Flores has done an incredible job holding the Niners at bay and then making CJ Stroud uncomfortable, which is, I guess, been unseen in this short NFL career. And he's found a way to do that and make CJ Stroud turn the ball over, which he has never, not done that much. But that's the big matchup. How does Flores, I guess, because it's like LaFleur has found a way to win games. And these Packers have found a way to win games in 2 styles. One was run dominant, and one was actually, rely on Malik Willis. So how does Brian Flores take away the run game and put the ball in Malik Willis's hands? That's probably the major key, in my opinion. And the second thing is which quarterback, at the end of the day, they both have been incredible these last couple of weeks. But at the end of the day, we've seen these guys make many major mistakes that cost their team in Darnold and Willis. So the second thing is which quarterback will make the mistake.
Yeah, no, I'm going to double check what pick I made as well because I made this last night. But yeah, no, it obviously comes like to your point. That's the game plan, right? Can you make Malik Willis throw the ball more and
make Malik Willis determine the game?
Exactly, yeah. Right? And that I feel like Brian Flores is good enough to do that. But I feel like Matt LaFleur on the flip side is also good enough to figure stuff out. Mm-hmm. Whether that be get Jacobs rolling, then whether that be just quick screen passes or like check down passes or whatever the case may be. Malik Willis is confident heading into this week because like last week's game was probably his, whether he did say like, I don't have any bad blood against the Tennessee Titans. They gave me this opportunity. It is what it is. It's the business.
The way he played.
Obviously, mentally, there is something something with that.
Like there was bad blood. But like, yeah, it's going to be a major chess match between Flores and LaFleur. I'll go with my pick first. I think I'm pretty confident I picked the Minnesota Vikings here.
I did as well.
And it's not because it's a tough pick. Again, another 50-50 pick. It will probably be a pick spread out through our family pick'ems as well. Like 50-50, half the people pick Vikings and half the people pick Packers. It's just that the weaknesses, I think like the floors could prey on more weaknesses in terms of the Packers than the Packers can on the Niners. I just feel like that's what it'll come down to. I feel like the Niners, no, not the Niners, the Vikings have won in multiple ways, including with being Darnold led and or Aaron Jones led. Whereas the Packers I think is gonna have to come down the run game, and I feel like if Flores stops that, it's gonna be tough for Malik Willis to pass on this Vikings defense, which made CJ Stroud look uncomfortable. I wonder how it'll make Malik Willis look like.
So yeah, so that's why I went with the Vikings as well. Plus, their offensive continuity is still there for the most part from the start of the year. And listen, Sam Darnold was 3-0 a couple of years ago in Carolina like this. The difference is he still has his best weapon. He lost his best weapon, Christian McCaffrey, back then. Hopefully, it's not a repeat for him back then, and he just continues his path on being a starting NFL caliber quarterback this week. But moving on, let's talk about the Lions here against the Seahawks, because if like I said in the overreactions, we still don't know what the Seahawks team is. They are rolling, they are cooking at the moment. However, the competition is very weak, and this is their first actual test. The Lions, the first 2 weeks haven't been what we thought they would be. Lost, obviously, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And even the first week against the Rams, when the Rams got hurt, they let them come back in the game and then dominated overtime to end that game there. But for me, this is more on the Seahawks, because this is their litmus test. This is their time to show like, hey, the first 3 weeks is who we are, and we're going to prove it against this big team. It's kind of like a boxing analogy I'm going to use here. If a boxer is fighting 3, coming up guys, then all of a sudden he faces like a top 2, top 3 guy and beats them, then that's how we're going to determine him that, okay, then he is for real.
Yeah, so that's, again, 100% agree, Seattle's biggest test. This is how we determine that one of the tests that we're going to determine if they are a real deal. Obviously, in terms of you don't necessarily need to win, but like at least show us you belong, right? It doesn't, just don't get blown out, because sometimes in recent years Seattle does get blown out, and the biggest example is the 49ers in the last few years, and that kind of like separates them from the elite team to like a wild card / mediocre team. So I 100% agree with you that it's their biggest test, and I also 100% agree with you that the Lions, more specifically the offense, has another level to get to.
Yeah,
I personally believe the Lions defense has been outperforming the Lions offense, and the offense is the better group, and basically the O-line. I liked how they had a more physical game plan against the Cardinals, which helped, but I still think that like they should be able to put up more points, in my opinion. And they had an incredible touchdown with the freaking hook and ladder touchdown, with Amon-Ra hooking it to Gibbs for a touchdown. But overall, I just think the Lions are gonna be too much for the Seattle Seahawks. But the main thing with the Seahawks is find a way to keep it competitive. Make us believe that you belong, as our Canucks flag is falling. But make us believe that you belong with these big teams, right? And that doesn't mean necessarily you need to win, but just don't get blown out of the water. Make it a counter punch type of game. And the biggest reason why I'm gonna pick the Lions here is I don't know how their line is going to hold up against Aiden Hutchinson.
Exactly. That's literally what I was about to say. For me, outside of TJ Watt, Aiden Hutchinson is top 3 DPOY, and I had him in my top 3 DPOY for a reason in the beginning of the year as well. And listen, the Seahawks, it's going to come down to the Lions. If they get pressure, they should win this game, because the Seahawks O-line isn't the greatest as well. However, if you let the way Geno's kind of playing, settle in the pocket. I don't know what the health status right now is for Kenneth Walker. Zach Charbonnet is doing well. Their run game is going to get way better.
Metcalf has been underratedly good so far.
With Kenneth Walker coming back, that's going to help not just Metcalf, but JSN and Tyler Lockett as well, and Noah Fant. So, like, for me, if they're going to let Geno just dish out the ball around a little bit with the run game going, this could be the Seahawks win. However, I don't believe that's the case. I trust that defensively, they will get pressure on Geno, and it's going to make it tough for him. Kind of like what the Seahawks did last year with the Ravens to a certain degree. And offensively, listen, they need to get another gear going. 20 points the last 2 weeks, and then 20. It was technically 20 points in regulation all 3 weeks. It was just in overtime they made it 26, right? And listen, the Cardinals game should have been more of a blowout type thing if you're thinking about on paper. Yes, the Cardinals are a much better team, and we've said that since week 1 as well. But yeah, for me, I picked the Lions. That's the main reason. They're going to make it tough. They're going to win the trenches battle. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, well, see, they have like the best whole line in football. But let's move on to some superlatives and starting
No,
off?
we have one more matchup.
Oh yeah, we do have one more matchup.
Yeah, because
I thought about that.
it's this. This is a big one too.
the second NFC division matchup that I mentioned before, and this is the Saints and Falcons. And the first question I'm gonna ask about the New Orleans Saints is that which Saints offense are we gonna get this week?
Exactly right. So, listen, last week a blip. Yes, the Eagles' defense it will probably be better, somewhat better than this the Falcons' defense. However, this Falcons' defense has Raheem Morris, helping lead it.
And he did play decently well against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. So I think the Falcons' defense can do what the Eagles' defense did to the Saints. So I think it's just up to the Saints and in terms of how they get everything together. Like obviously they're showing flashes in different parts of their offense. How do they get everything going at once? And that'll be the biggest key for them this week.
For me, with the Saints is yes, I think their defense is clearly fine. They showed it the first 3 weeks. Even it's not outside of the minus the letting Goddard go off and the big Saquon plays they allowed. Now
there's two big plays, yeah.
The Falcons' offense hasn't taken off yet. I still expect it will. This is the Falcons' toughest part of the schedule, right? Because again, when we previewed them, their schedule gets easier and easier, minus the division games now. But for me, the Falcons' defense, I'm fine with because Raheem Morris is leading with it. If I'm going to the Falcons side here, I need to see how they will get their offense rolling against this Saints defense because the Saints defense is always their bread and butter. We know that. And this is a game where Zach Robinson needs to figure out how to get all his playmakers going. Drake London's kind of get going.
He's
Kyle
been
Pitts
good,
has
yeah.
his moment. Bijan's been has his spurts. I'm gonna say that he's not terrible or anything, but he hasn't been the reason why I picked him for Opoi, or at least my finalist for Opoi this year. And that's where it's gonna be. That's where it's gonna determine. It's gonna determine between both offenses.
Yeah,
but if I'm leading, I picked the Falcons because I'm gonna give my pick right now, just because that's more of also I feel like a lot of people are gonna pick the Saints over the Falcons, but I think the Falcons offense might get going this week, and their defense will do enough to hold it. However, if it does come down between logically the Saints defense is better at the end of the day. They should be favored though.
The Saints have been a better football team and to start off the first 3 weeks. There's no debating that. But again, I agree with you. It just comes down to which offense. Both have shown so many flashes in different ways. But which offense can put it all together and be that dominant offense that we once thought they should be, right? And overall, another big question is which favors the Saints, in my opinion, is that the Falcons have some O-line issues in terms of a couple of pieces got injured during the Chiefs game, which kind of took away the run game in the fourth quarter. And also kind of they failed 2 fourth down conversions in the red zone to take the lead in Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I did not like some of the play calling.
Yeah, and overall, but we also seen them have a solid drive and win in Monday Night Football against the Eagles. So again, similar question with the Saints: which Falcons offense are we gonna get?
And then with the Saints, which Derek Carr are we gonna get?
Yeah, no. And the Saints offense have exploded where the Falcons offense has not really.
Yeah, so the Saints should be favored. I'm just purposely going on the quote unquote money line, how people want to say we're not betting men like that. But if I wanted to go pick wise, this is my value pick.
I also picked a lot of Falcons too, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, and another
we're
reason
exposing our picks right now, but yeah.
Another reason why I picked a lot of Falcons is that they're also playing at home. I feel like that could be a good factor.
I mean, their home is kind of questionable.
Their fan base isn't probably the greatest, but overall, I think Falcons edge out. I think they need to win more than the Saints do. Right?
Yes, I agree with that because they're 1 and 2.
Yeah,
as well.
Not even in terms of record-wise, because they need to find themselves in identity a little bit too.
It will be a close game, but we'll see how it goes. But let's move on. Like you mentioned the superlatives earlier. Let's start off with the first one. We'll go quick here. Which 3-0 team has the best chance of losing and winning? So these are the 3-0 teams. There are 5 of them. It's the Chiefs. They're taking on the Chargers. It's the Seahawks. They're taking on the Lions. It's the Vikings. They're taking on the Packers. It's the Bills. They're taking on the Ravens, as we mentioned earlier. And finally, it's the Steelers, who are 3-0, taking on the Colts. Let's start off with the winner.
Which team, 3-0 team that's going to most likely stay undefeated in my books, it's got to be the Kansas City Chiefs.
Same.
Right? You're playing a much worse Chargers team than compared to what you guys have been put on.
Derwin James is suspended. Justin Herbert
Derwin James is suspended. Herbert's injured. It's just written that the Chiefs should be 4-0 in my opinion. The best chance of being 4-0 after week 4.
Who's most likely to lose? Because I agree with the Chiefs. I'm not going to add too much onto that.
I mean, I did pick the Lions, so I put the Seahawks here as well. Again, the toughest matchup out of all, in my opinion. And
Listen,
obviously
all the other games,
the Bills also have a shout too. You could
Yeah.
have a shout for the Bills, not in terms of like how the Bills are as a football team, but like the opponent they're versing.
for me, who's most likely to lose is the Seahawks. I agree with that. However, like you said, like the other two, I'm not gonna say Steelers Colts. I feel like the Steelers should be favorites
Steelers
in
should
that
be
one
winning,
because they have
yeah.
the best defense and more time possession, and that's the Colts' biggest weakness at the moment, trying to keep possession as well. And we gotta see if the Chicago game was a fluke. Right now, I'm gonna lean that way a little bit because it's the Bears.
It was a fluke.
But for me, like the other two matchups are like the same way. Like the Packers and Vikings are literally 50-50 to me.
It is 50-50.
Right? The Bills, Ravens, you could lean more Bills, sure. But yeah, no, for this, like the Lions should be favored over the Seahawks. I think that's the clear favorite line. So yeah, the Seahawks, in my opinion, have the best chance of losing their undefeated record as well.
Let's move on to
the flip side.
The flip side, the 0-3 teams. You got the Titans, you got the Jaguars, and you got the
Bengals. So Bengals, Panthers, Jags, Texans, Titans, Dolphins. I'll start off with who will win their game. It has to be the Bengals, right? Like it's like how we talked about Dallas. Because we're not gonna be talking about Dallas in this episode because they're Thursday Night Football. It's like they cannot lose to the Giants. The Bengals cannot go 0-4 against the Panthers. And now Andy Dalton's there, so we have that. Obviously, not a revenge factor this late into the thing.
Revenge game.
But you know what I'm saying, right? It's you cannot be losing to this Panthers.
You can't be. You just simply can't be. So, but do we have the other side? Which team is probably Jacksonville, right?
It has to be Jacksonville because like Dolphins, we don't know what's happening in the quarterback situation, and Titans' defense is still should be better than it was last week. But yeah, Jacksonville sucks.
Like, I don't know.
I'm a big Trevor Lawrence guy coming out of college. He's struggling. He might be even benched for Mac Jones the way it's going, and that might not even be an answer. Doug Peterson said that everything's up in play here. Somehow they all have a Cincy connection with Zach Taylor, Press Taylor. They're obviously related, and then you got like Brian Callahan coming from the Cincy tree as well. Yeah, Texans are gonna need to bounce back, and this is the way Jags looked. Yeah, they seem like they're cooked.
Yeah,
and they're in trouble because they already paid Trevor Lawrence as well.
We're gonna move on to a new thing that we're gonna do here. We're gonna pick our lock team, basically a team that we guarantee that will win this week.
So for me, I'm gonna just say right now it's Houston,
and I'm gonna say Cincy.
Yeah. So for me, it's Houston. I think that's the lock. Every other matchup seems much closer than it is compared to these two teams. I'm not gonna ramble on too much, but Houston needs to come. The horrible performance. CJ Stroud should bounce back.
Yeah.
And this Jags team has not shown signs.
And then on Cincy side, like you said, they just can't lose to the Panthers. Like, I know the Panthers coming off a insane performance, but that quarterback bump is finished, right? Like how, a big move bump, head coach bump, all that stuff is done now for the Carolina Panthers. Cincy is coming off a bad loss in Monday Night Football. They kind of rekindled that Chase and Burrow connection, so they should be able to cook. And figure they should beat the Panthers. There's no other way to put it. But let's go to upset team. I'm going to go first because mine is...
will not take mine.
It's not yours.
Okay.
Right? Because mine is kind of like a wishy-washy answer. I picked the Washington Commanders over the Arizona Cardinals. Again, it's very close.
I don't think that's like... Nah, I'm not giving you that.
I just no other one I could pick, bro. I put Bengals as locks. So I could put the Panthers. Every other one is 50-50. The
Jets over Denver?
I don't
sorry. That's we're not doing lock.
Yeah.
In terms of the betting line, the biggest upset alert you could see is Seattle, Detroit. This is based on Yahoo.
And I picked the Lions. So like, it doesn't make sense.
I didn't pick the Panthers last week, but I still got it. I was still saying that's an upset. But you don't have to necessarily pick the team if you want. But
I picked them.
By the logic, you picked Washington, it looks like.
That's by logic of what I said. I can't really go back on what I said.
Okay, let's just be real. We both have the same one. It's the
Patriots. Yeah, it's the Patriots.
All right? We're not going to... Go on to Washington very quickly then.
Commanders, Jaden Daniels coming off a big performance. Again, their defense hasn't been convincing enough. It's been mostly the offense carrying. And the same goes with Cardinals, but the Cardinals have more experience and a better offense in my opinion so far, even though they are 1-2. And they're playing at home as well. So Commanders are going into Arizona. So that's the reason why I picked them. Just going off the Daniels show right now.
For me, I went with the Bengals. The Patriots. Yes, they're coming off a horrible loss. But they're facing a Niners team that choked the lead, and we don't know the statuses of any of their guys at the moment. I believe they all might be out. This is a game for either Brock Purdy to show out, but this is a game where their defense, the Patriots defense could help them seal a win. Right, you have Christian Gonzalez. He'll probably lock down Brandon Ayuk, and Brandon Ayuk is struggling himself, which means it's going to be the Juwan Jennings game, based on logic again.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I will not be surprised if the Patriots. That's why I didn't have San Francisco as a lock. This is why, because Patriots for me are the team that could upset
All
the
right,
biggest.
so let's move on to our last topic here: players to watch out for. I'm gonna start off with my offensive player, and that's gonna be Will Levis. Right, 3 weeks in a row, Will Levis has turned the football over and hurt the Tennessee Titans. And in 2 of those games, he has been the main reason why the Titans lost their games, and especially in week 1 and in week 2. So again, you're playing another team that is very beatable in the Miami Dolphins without their quarterback, and you have 0 wins. So this is a really good chance to get your first win. And as long as Levis just plays a clean game of football, I think the Titans should be able to pull it off. And that's the major key here. Like, can Will Levis not hurt his team once again?
So I was gonna go with Geno, but we already talked about it enough earlier that it was between 2, Jaden Daniels. Can he follow this up? Which I believe he can. But I'm gonna take the same route you did and go bias mode here. Anthony Richardson is playing the best defense in the league.
Yeah.
Now, that's obviously, I'm keeping an eye on that mainly because, or I could, on the flip side, I could see Jonathan Taylor. Like, I'm gonna put them as a duo here. Anthony Taylor, not the fighter, but, or the ref. Anthony, I was about to say Joshua. Anthony Richardson, obviously a horrible game against that Chicago defense, which is, Chicago's defense is a little bit underrated in my opinion, but this defense is way better. The good news is he has a good O-line. Now, they have a superstar in TJ Watt, so I'm not even trusting our own line that fully because that's how good they are. And Shane Steichen himself said that he needs to come out and hopefully has a proper game plan against TJ Watt. So that's part of it. And the other reason is just so because of that, my player to watch also is Jonathan Taylor. He had a great last 2 weeks. He's showing that why, when healthy, he's one of the top 5, top 3 running backs in the league and was an MVP favorite during the Carson Wentz year as well. So that's my offense.
Defensive player for me is, already mentioned before, is Aiden Hutchinson.
Okay, I was about to go with that one.
Yeah,
I was going to change it.
Okay, yeah. Aiden Hutchinson, again, could be the single reason why Seattle Seahawks lose on Monday Night Football. And again, he has been playing at a deep point level. Too bad TJ Watt exists, and he probably won't win it this year as long as TJ Watt's healthy. But yeah, Aiden Hutchinson been wrecking havoc, been an absolute game wrecker. And with the Seahawks O-line, he should be able to be a game wrecker again against the Seattle Seahawks.
So I'm going to go with, so I was thinking leaning Aiden Hutchinson. I was going to go TJ Watt as well. I will, I guess, okay, you threw me off a little bit there. That's why.
It's fine if you do.
Let me go with the Christian Gonzalez then. Because they need to bounce back heavily. This is the game again. Almost any DK did get some good, get some yardage and on him and stuff like that.
And Wilson got a toddy on him as well.
Exactly. So for me, I just want to see what Christian Gonzalez is, and more like this is more on San Francisco to see what their backup plan is. Once it's not, as of right now, it's not hard to take Ayuk out of the game because he's been struggling, but Gonzalez on him is going to be the same type of vibe. Boring answer. Obviously, I didn't want to give the boring answer. That's the only one I could think of on the spot. But my real answer was Aiden Hutchinson, just to see how much havoc he'll wreak. Same thing with TJ Watt, but I didn't want to go too biased again either. But that wraps up our week 4 preview. Make sure you guys check out our week 3 overreactions, and as well hit that subscribe button. We'll be dropping NHL content starting soon because NHL preseason is underway. So make sure you guys hit that post notification bell as well, so you'll be notified of the videos when they come out. Help us to a road to 1,000. Right now to 700, but to 1,000 after that. And follow our socials, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.